Who do I have the pleasure of speaking with?
This is Raul Villegas.
Nice to meet you, Raul Villegas.
Nice to meet you too. What's your name?
My name is Daniel Perez.
Daniel. Daniel Perez. Nice to meet you.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. It was actually quite interesting because, I know today's Father's Day. Happy Father's Day, by the way.
Happy Father's Day.
It was actually quite interesting because my dad's name is Raul as well.
Oh, your dad's name's Raul too.
Yeah, yeah. So I was very,
That's interesting. That is interesting.
yeah, yeah. So I was very interested. I was very interested in taking this
Yes.
call.
Oh, okay, okay. Are you streaming this live right now, or this is gonna be you're gonna play it later?
Just like I'll play it later, like on YouTube. The links I sent you, I don't know if you got a chance to take a look at a couple of them.
I did. I was listening right now.
Nice, nice, nice. Oh yeah, that
It
one.
sounds interesting.
Yes, yes, yes. Um,
Yes.
d-
Very interesting.
yes, yes. So go ahead and tell me a little bit about yourself, Raul.
Yes. Well. I'm over here in Marietta.
Hmm.
I'm over here in Marietta, and so you put the ad for the Father's Day podcast, and I think that's very, very interesting.
Yes.
And well, I got a lot to talk about, since I'm a father
Yes.
of four,
Yes.
and like I was telling you, my children were removed
Yes.
from me, unfortunately,
Yes.
and so I'm in a situation where I'm heartbroken.
Yes.
I'm heartbroken because I don't have my children.
Yes.
Four of my children, I don't have my children, so it's a day by day type of thing, type of battle.
And go ahead.
Just yeah, go ahead. No, go ahead.
Oh, I was just going to ask, for how long have they been separated, sir?
So my first baby girl was born in 2014. So we had a case with Child Protective Services from the start. That's when she was born, because my wife was incarcerated at the time.
Right.
So when you're incarcerated, you basically you have to give up your child.
Right.
So she was supposed to come with me, but since there was allegations, the women at the place where they were holding my wife, the correctional facility, they put allegations against me because I would call in, because I was in a, you can say, like a love trance over
Right.
my wife, because at the time, and then she was saying that she was pregnant. I didn't know, because when she left, when she was arrested,
Right.
they took her, and I didn't know she was pregnant. So she was telling me through the mail that she was pregnant. So I believed it, but I kind of doubted it at first, and then ended up, it was true.
Yes.
The ladies that worked at the correctional facilities, yeah, she was pregnant.
Yes.
So it was true. So we got the house ready over here in Lake Elsinore,
Right.
and we painted the room pink, and we put a new ceiling fan.
Right.
My buddy put that in. We got the crib.
Right.
We were just expecting Cherish to come home, because that was going to be her name. That's her name.
Right.
And so when she was born, I was supposed to be the delivery coach
Right.
at the hospitals. They were going to take my wife out of custody and then take her to a local hospital, and I was going to go in and help deliver the baby. But that didn't go down because the allegations were already placed. So a few days later, after my baby was born, the Child Protective Services, Riverside County, came to the house, and they basically told me what it was. They were like, we got your baby. She was born this and this and that.
Right.
But we have allegations against you that you're basically incoherent, that you're an alcoholic and you possibly doing drugs,
Right.
this and that. So are you willing to do these programs and this and that? And I was like, yep. That's how it went down, and that's how we got our first case. That's how it started back in 2014. We're in 2022 now.
Oh, okay. Okay. And I have a question. How did those allegations come about? Like, who made those allegations? Was it the faculty staff, or?
No. So like I'm saying, we had my wife and I, we were living in Elsinore at the time.
Okay.
And I met my wife in 2011, the beginning of 2011, and then we got married in 2012. So it was like one of those like bang 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 type of just quick type of thing. Don't even think.
Oh.
I just did it. You know, I did it because I was under the influence. I did drink a lot.
Mm-hmm.
I did drink a lot. I did use a lot of marijuana.
Yes.
You know, so and then I did it just because I did love my wife. We didn't have kids before we got married. So it was a love. First comes love, then comes marriage, then comes a baby and a baby carriage type of thing.
Okay.
That's how it really went down.
Right.
Because I'm and I'm from Elsinore. I was completely isolated, working on music as a teenager. Never had girlfriends. Of course, I wasn't a virgin, but always wanted the girlfriend. Would always dream about it. You know, while going to sleep. You know, it was one of those childhood, adolescent type of things growing up.
And I have a question, if you don't mind me asking. Where's your wife from?
My wife is she's from, see, that's where stuff gets interesting because, and where it all ties up to my children being taken away.
Mm-hmm.
Because my wife is adopted herself.
Okay.
So she doesn't know, so I wouldn't know either, you know, so we're kind of, we don't know, we really don't know, like, it's kind of like, we're trying to decipher what she is, but, she don't want to say she's Hispanic, and that's all, or white, or she doesn't look white, to me, she looks like she's Asian, but, I don't know, it's crazy.
And I have a question. So you grew up in Lake Elsinore?
Yeah, I grew up in Lake Elsinore. I moved to Lake Elsinore in 1995, and before that, I lived in Paris, which is, if you're familiar with the Inland Empire, you probably know where Paris is at.
Yes.
And,
but for the viewers that don't, can you explain a little bit about Paris and Lake Elsinore?
Yeah, definitely. I'd love to. Okay, so Lake Elsinore, California, is basically it's off the 15 freeway in Southern California. It's basically in the middle of San Diego and Los Angeles, California. They're basically, so from Lake Elsinore to San Diego is 2 hours, and from LA, Los Angeles, it's probably an hour and a half, but 2 hours the most. So it's 2 hours there, 2 hours there. Basically, so you're in the middle. And Lake Elsinore, California, it's got a lake, obviously. And it's got a lot of history. There's, I believe Lake Elsinore is kind of built on a Indian burial ground, if I'm not mistaken.
Right.
They do have a little historical building there in the main street of Lake Elsinore.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Where I think it's open every Wednesday. I have went in there and looked, and I plan to go back in there because I have something I want to take to them so they can look at it and see what it is. It's a record, and on the record it mentions a music teacher that she might have lived there in Lake Elsinore.
Wow.
Yeah, but on the record it's an old record. And it's a developmental record, like one of those child records. They used to make this type of stuff. You know, at one time they used to make records that were for children that were educational.
Wow. Yeah.
And so on the record.
Mm-hmm. Oh, I was just going to ask, was she Indian too? The artist.
The artist? No. I've tried to look her up. And I can't find anything about her. That's why I want to take the record to the historical society of Lake Elsinore right there, because they might know more about it than I do. I don't really know.
Okay.
I don't know.
Okay.
But I'm interested in that stuff. And the record just came to me randomly because sometimes I was crate digging, because some of the music that I produce involves sampling from records, from vinyl. So.
Oh, okay.
Yeah,
oh.
and I seen the record because I like looking at the record while I'm listening, while I'm skimming through music to look at what I'm gonna sample. looking at the record and looking at the artwork of the record, front and back, and looking at it. That's how I stumbled and seen Lake Elsinore, California, and I was like, wow, Ruth Wood, I think is her name, Ruth Wood.
Ruth Wood. Okay. And I have a question.
Right.
Where'd you find that
Yes,
record, or where do you go to find those records? Do you go to like swap meets or yard sales?
Well, I haven't done it recently. But I did do it. I did do it for like 3 years. I was going to thrift stores, swap meets. Yeah, I went to the swap meet in Van Buren, in Riverside. I went to all the thrift stores out here in the Inland Empire.
Nice.
I wouldn't say all of them, but what is Lake Elsinore, Sun City, Marietta, Menifee, Temecula, Fallbrook. Fallbrook's kind of going more into San Diego, but Riverside, Corona. Don't know if there was anything in Norco, maybe, and just stuff like that. Maybe not too far. Moreno Valley, but I never really ventured off anywhere else.
Right.
But just kind of in that little hub right here, I did manage to collect like about, I want to say about over 20 crates, milk crates.
Wow.
Maybe more of records that I used a lot, because I've made over 50 beats in the last, in that type of style of sampling. I've made over 50 beats in the last couple of years.
Wow.
In that style of sampling records, just sampling like that, because I do other styles of music that's done by scratch. Everything done by scratch. All the instruments played, everything written out.
Wow.
But in the record sampling art form, it's all done just with records, and I do occasionally sample from cassette tapes and CD.
Wow. What, do you make music on the computer as well?
As far as computer music, I have done computer music. I've used an old computer program, an old computer, Texas Instruments computer. Some of your listeners might know what that is, and it was a TI-99, Texas Instruments TI-99, and that came with the program called Music Maker.
Oh yeah, Music
And I'm not sure what year they released the TI-99, but I know that it's a very sought out computer that is still used to this day. I know that they do make a power cord adapter, the one that powers it up, like a brand new one. It's like better than the old one.
Oh, right.
For it. So like for people that are using it, as I was recently reading up, because I still have mine, and I have the music program, and I made just a little piece. It was kind of something I was just messing with it, and that was the only time I recorded with it, because it's a computer. It's you remember the Ataris, right?
No. Well, let's verify our age. I'm 31. I was born in 1990.
Okay, you're 31. I'm 38.
30, oh, okay.
Okay, you're born in 1990.
Yeah. You're 82, right? You're 82.
No, I'm 84.
84. Yes. Okay.
Yeah, 1984.
Nice.
And so I don't know if whatchamacallit, what year that computer was made, but I know it might have been 1984, but I might be wrong. But well, that program, it's the sound that it makes. It's just a simple, like 8-bit type of sound tone that it gives. And the only way to record it that I know at this time, because I haven't went back to it, because my adapter accidentally went off in a box that I had gotten, that I was selling stuff in a yard sale one time back at my parents' house back in Elsinore, going back to Elsinore. I'm selling instruments because, you're young and you need the money. So I got rid of all my Atari consoles, going back to the Atari. The Atari was a old gaming system. I don't know when they released it, in the 70s maybe, but it was a gaming system. But the Texas Instruments, the TI-99, looked not even close to it, but in size, maybe not even close to it neither. But it wasn't that big. It was the size of 8 by 10, maybe a little bit bigger. And so it has this music program called Music Maker, and it just you put the notes in, like if you were to draw the notes on the staff paper. So
Right.
you put the notes where they go, and then you get it to play it back. So that's what it does. It's simple, and that's something I did right there. Before that, I did on the Nintendo. As kids, we had a program, a game called it was Mario Paint. I think it was called Mario Paint. I don't know if you're familiar with that one.
Yes, I am. I believe Mario. Yeah.
Yeah, Mario Paint.
Mario Paint. Oh, not the paint. I remember
Yeah.
the racing games.
Yeah, the Mario Karts.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, this one was Mario Paint, and it came. Well, you remember the SNES, right? After the Nintendo, the original one came the Super Nintendo.
Oh yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. Well, Mario Paint was for the Super Nintendo,
Okay.
and then so it came with the little mouse pad, and it came with the mouse, and then it didn't have you didn't have a controller. It had a mouse, so it was kind of like a computer. And
Oh,
in that Mario Paint game, it lets you draw, it lets you do animation, and it lets you do music. And it gave you little staff, and the notes they weren't like they weren't notes. Like they had the symbols of the game characters. So they had they had the mushroom, they had the star, they had I'm not sure what other little they had like a Yoshi, and you would put those on the staff, and it would play a different pitch, and it would do the sound. So it had a baby squeak, like those type of sounds were.
yeah.
And
Yeah.
yeah, so you can make.
Oh, I'm
Mhm.
sorry.
Go ahead.
I was going to say like yeah, like Yoshi, Browser, Peach, Luigi. Yeah, like those symbols probably, right? Yeah, those characters as symbols.
Yes. So you could put those symbols on the lines, and it would play back that pitch that it would do, and it would be whatever that sound would be. That sample, it was a sample of that pitch, so it would be like when you would put a Yoshi, it would be like it would sound like he would sit down on a cushion because you would be sitting down on Yoshi, so it would sound like, and then you put the baby crying, and then when you would play it back, it would play it all back in rhythm. So that
Oh.
was my first time like experiencing sequencing,
Hmm.
because that's what it was. I was sequencing something that the sound that was organized, and then so that was the first time that I started messing with that. But that was a computer. That's the TI-99 and that Mario Paint, and then I messed with another program called LSDJ, which lets you compose 8-bit music too. It has those wave generators are 8-bit sounding.
Hmm.
If some of your listeners will know what I'm talking about too. It kind of sounds like Game Boy music. Well, that's what it is basically. That LSDJ is a Game Boy audio simulator. I guess I could say what it is. Uh,
Oh yeah, like it has that little that gaming sound, right? Dee, 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 dee.
exactly. Yeah. It sounds 8-bit is what they call it.
Yeah, 8-bit. Yes. And when you say sequencing, can you define sequencing for the people that may not know it?
Yeah. So what sequencing is? It's basically it's a loop.
Hmm.
It's a loop playing back.
Hmm. Of
So
the
it's a sequence. It's a
go ahead.
yeah, basically you're organizing a loop, basically, but it's in the sequence that you want.
Nice.
So there's actually machines like sequencers. I have an old sequencer, a Yamaha from the 80s too, vintage, that'll let you sequence tones and notes. And what you have to do is you have to have it connected to MIDI, and MIDI is the musical instrument digital interface, I believe it is.
Hmm.
And I'm not too savvy on MIDI. I never really used MIDI before,
Hmm.
but I do have one of those things that my friend gave me back in Elsinore. But it's like a piece of junk, if you think about it. So they were like, hey, take it, you can use it. So I took it and I connected it to an old synthesizer that I have. It's a Korg synthesizer. It's a beast. It's huge. I call it the beast because it's huge. It's humongous.
Wow.
And I connected it with MIDI cables. With the MIDI cables, I connected it to the sequencer, the Yamaha sequencer, and it was able to communicate. They were able to communicate with each other because what MIDI is, it's that's what it is. It's a link for instruments to communicate to each other.
Wow.
Yeah, so it's interesting stuff because they.
Mm-hmm. Oh no, I was just going to ask: is MIDI expensive? I'm sorry.
MIDI. Well, it's they make it on every instrument that they. So, I'm not sure when it went like USB,
Mm-hmm.
like you know how USB is on everything.
Yeah, like the audio interfaces.
Right. It's mostly USB because before USB, people might know about FireWire.
Oh yeah, Firewire. Yeah.
FireWire, yeah, that was like used for video and audio too. Audio sound cards. Like if you, yeah. So if you were into making music and you were using computer maybe in the early 2000s, you might know about FireWire because some of those, I mean, USB wasn't like how it is today, or it wasn't, you know.
And when you say that,
maybe it might have been coming out. Mm-hmm.
Right, and when you say that it wasn't like the way it is today, what do you mean by that? Like it wasn't the way it is today, as far as like easy or the price, or because some of that stuff is a little difficult, huh?
No, I mean that the cables. I mean that what we're using today, the USB cables. Now we got the USB Type C. We got different little, you know, the tips of these cables. They're different. They make different sizes now. Like every phone I've had has always had a different little connector.
That's
you know,
true.
You can't use one from another one because it won't fit in there. So they keep making different ones. So before my first computer that I bought was back in 2003,
Mm-hmm.
and it was a Gateway, and that's when Gateway had a store.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know if you remember that.
No, I don't. No.
Yeah, Gateway actually. You know the computers, right? The brand Gateway.
I think I heard of them. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. So it was. I'm not gonna say they were like Dell, but I can because I don't know if Dell's still around either. You know of Dell, right?
Yeah. Dell's still around. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. So I'm not sure. I'm not sure what happened to Gateway, but yeah, anyways, I have one of their computers and it's not working now. It crashed on me twice, and I've gotten fixed, but I think it just finally took a crap. But it recorded a lot of music for me.
Wow.
A lot of music from like 2003 to just a couple years ago when it finally just took a poop.
That's right. And I have a question.
Yeah. Yeah, go ahead.
I was going to ask you, okay, so like you've been recording music for a long time, like with the computers and everything. And I remember back in the days, like in the late 2000s, I tried to record music too. I tried to be a rapper. You know, I mean, that was like every teenager dream back in the day, and it still is now. But I find was it harder back in the days to record music and become a rapper? Or is it more easier nowadays? Or is it easier back then? What's your thoughts on that? Was it more expensive back then to do it, or is it more expensive now? What's your thoughts on that?
Well, I think that's an interesting question. I think that's a really interesting question. I think it's the same.
Mm-hmm.
Honestly,
Mm-hmm.
I think nothing has changed.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I think in the scene, the only thing that's different is there's a lot of musicians that can't cut playing what they can't do. There's not a lot of musicians that could cut doing the type of music that I'm doing.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
I could tell you that.
Because yours is more advanced, right? Is that what it is?
Well, it's not that it's advanced. It's just there's a lot of people. There's about a percentage of musicians that won't want to play your music because they can't play your music. If that makes any sense.
Yes, it does. Why?
They won't want to play. Yes, because the type of music I want to play it's a variety of music like jazz, rock, uh, pop music, maybe a hip hop. You know, it's just I don't know. It could be whatever I want it to be. So there's going to be a lot of people that are not going to want to do that. They're going to want to play strictly metal music, or they're going to strictly want to do acoustic music, or they want to do electronic music.
Right, right.
So you're always going to have a different. You're always going to have people wanting what they want, but then that's great because that's just the way it is. Like people want what they want, and I'll continue to make what I want, and people, if they want to listen to it, that's great.
That's true. And I have a question. I'm sorry.
Yes.
I have a question. So when you make music, is it like the instrumentals only, not vocals, right? Or is it vocals sometimes and instrumentals?
No, when I make music, it's everything. It's if I'm making instrumentals, they're instrumentals because they could be backing tracks for something, for anything, or they could have lyrics. They could be potential songs for lyrics that haven't been written out yet, but they're instrumentals. They're the backbones. So right now, over here at the studio in my apartment, I'm making songs, but I consider them to be skeletons, and just skeletons, basically, just post-production, just ideas, just sketches of what is to come, basically.
Wow. Skeletons because...
And I don't know if you heard this. I don't know. Yeah, go ahead.
Oh, I was just going to say skeletons because there's no, like, life in it yet, right? There's no, like, maybe lyrics in it yet, right? They're just, like, skeletons are, like, ideas,
exactly,
right?
Exactly. Yeah. It's just they're just rough drafts, even though they sound good. And you might say, oh, wow, this sounds good, though. But to me, they're not finished. They're not finished because, exactly, they don't have lyrics. Although, of course, some of the stuff is instrumental, and I'm going to want it to be instrumental, but some stuff will have lyrics, some stuff won't. But so in the meantime, they just the songs get made, and it's just like inventory. It's like for me, it's just a job that's never going to stop for me.
Right. It's your passion.
I have an endless work. Yeah, exactly. So it's like I have endless work that I never catch up. It seems like I never catch up because it's always like I'm so behind. I'm so behind on my music. I'm always trying to catch up and try to catch up.
That's so great, man. And I encourage you to continue to do that. Just like me, like even with this podcast, I don't get paid nothing, and I probably won't even get no fame off it. But I don't do it for the money or the fame. I do it for the passion, for what's in my heart. And I encourage anybody and everybody to do the same, whatever it is they want to do.
That's great, man. You know, I appreciate it, man. I appreciate that you're doing this. I really do.
Yeah,
it's good. It's good that people will listen to what you just said, and then, you know, and they'll vibe off of what you're saying because it's going to resonate with them. What you're speaking is the truth.
Yes.
And that's just what it is. Because what facts are facts, facts are facts.
Yes.
And that's just all you can say.
Yes.
That's all you can say. So a lot of people don't know my story, but when I start kicking my story, like I'm kicking it to you right now, you might feel what I'm saying.
Oh yeah, I already
Even though I don't care if you're gonna feel it, I might not care, but you're gonna listen. You're gonna listen and be like, oh, okay.
That's true.
This guy has a hard time with not having his kids around, even though he did good stuff and has been trying to do good stuff for a long time. And now that my kids ain't with me, now I have to step it up like over 100%. You know, I got to reach for that 200%.
That's right. And I have a question. Do you intend on having your children come back to you? Is there on your plan, on the map?
Oh yeah, man. That's on my agenda. That's so yeah. Of course, that's where my mission. Cause see, so my thing has been music. My passion has been music. Like how you're saying, that is passion because that is what it is. You're really passionate about something.
Right.
It's almost like it's almost like well, it's like being crazy over something. You know, that's exactly what it is. You hit the nail on the head of what you said. you're passionate about something. Something drives you because you love doing it, because you're passionate about something that you do, and that's what motivates you even more sometimes, because it's what it is it catches itself. It's like it's some sort of energy that when you're making whatever you're making or you're creating,
Right.
you're going to inspire yourself within the inspiration of what you're going through. Because, say, okay, let me give you an example. You go into you record some music, and then you're vibing out for a couple times. You might, in one of those sessions that you're having, you might get that feeling. It's a sort of feeling. I'm not sure if I'll be able to explain it, but basically, it's a euphoric feeling of that it feels really, really, really good. And I've had those feelings when I've recorded a certain type of a certain song, or when I'm going to perform.
Right.
When it just feels like it's a right thing. It just feels great, and you just get inspired off those moments too.
That's true. And what kind of music genre inspired you? Was it many?
It's many. It's many because I'm Hispanic. My parents are Mexican, so I listen to Spanish music.
Nice.
But I listen to a lot of world music,
Nice.
a lot of different cultures,
Nice.
different music from different cultures. I mean, you could whatever you think of. Really, I have thousands of records that I have right now, and I've just been the last couple of years. I've just been listening to a lot of stuff.
Nice.
So I like anything you can think of. Like, you can play me traditional Japanese music, and I like it. I might not be able to listen to it all day, but I'll like it because I like the sound. I like sound.
Yes.
To
Yeah.
go in, like, that's what I'm. I guess I don't know what an audiophile is, but it sounds correct. Like, because you're addicted to the sound.
Right.
So that's what it is. So it's like I'm an addict to sound and organizing the sound.
And I have a question. Where did you
Like a
find
musical junkie.
exactly? Where did you find that Japanese music sound or sound from other parts of the world? Like, how did you first encounter that?
I started first encountering when I noticed stuff like that. Probably like ever since childhood. Ever since childhood.
Nice.
I mean, that's for me, ever since childhood, I've always noticed those type of things.
Nice.
Like, if it was music that resonated with me, I liked it because there was something about it that I liked. It was either the rhythm, the way the artist was singing, or the beat, or there's something about it that I liked. Like, for example, a lot of Beatles songs. I liked a lot of Beatles songs as a little kid because I grew up with the Beatles as a little kid.
Nice.
And so I like the Beatles. Yeah, go ahead.
I was going to say, like, who played a lot of that music for you? Was it like maybe your parents, cousins, family, relatives, friends, school, community? Like, who played a lot of like the different diversified of music, like with the Beatles and oldies and stuff?
Yes. A lot of that stuff, I would hear it from my family. So my mom and dad, they had cassette tapes. They had cassette tapes when I was growing up as a child, and they had the tape deck, and so they had a lot of Mexican music. They had a lot of Mexican music, and I liked it. I really liked it, and I remember as a kid growing up, I remember the Michael Jackson, the Bad. I remember the cassette tape. Because I lived with my grandparents in Elsinore, but just for a little bit off. We lived off of Lookout Street in downtown Lake Elsinore.
Okay.
Off of Lookout Street, and it was like it was a bunch of us. It was like all the family. We all lived there. Nice. It was like so grandma and grandpa, and then my mom and dad, and then uncles and aunts. It was one of those things, like in the 80s where it was like it's a price. It was priceless. I mean, people must live like that today, but well, for me, it happened back in the '80s, and so we lived there, and that's where I seen the Michael Jackson cassette tape. That's where I heard La Bamba back in the '80s.
Richie Valens.
Because the movie had just came out, so it was that was popping back in the '80s. La Bamba,
Yeah.
and Michael Jackson, and all that stuff. So I grew up with that, and then
What
the
about
'90s came along. Go ahead.
Vicente Fernandez?
Oh, Vicente Fernandez, yeah. We had cassette tapes from him too. We had everything. We had Bronco. We had all the Swami bootleg tapes you could think of, probably. You know.
And I'm sorry for interrupting you. Go ahead about the 90s.
Yeah. So in the '90s, more music. I started listening to more music. Growing up, I remember the Pee Wee Herman dance. I don't know if you remember that record. It was a classic song. It was "Do the Pee Wee Herman dance, y'all. Do the Pee Wee Herman dance."
Oh yeah.
And so that was a classic, like a little '80s break dance, like a hip hop song. I remember that song because I had an older sister. I have an older sister, so she had those. She was dubbing tapes off the radio, and whatever radio station was out here. I think it was 99.1. It was KGDI.
Oh yeah.
And it was classic. You know, it was classic. Like I remember that as a kid, and I remember the stuff that was coming out through the early '90s. The stuff that was coming out, I remember seeing it because we had gotten a black box, a cable black box TV came to the house, and it was set up. So I got to see, as a youngster, as a kid, I got to see Nirvana. I got to see Kurt Cobain. I got to see Tupac. I got to see Selena. Everybody who was living at that time, I got to see them. Notorious B.I.G., you name it. I seen it on TV. I seen it on MTV.
Wow.
And yeah, so it was that influenced me a lot. It really influenced me a lot.
Dr. Dre.
Because I seen the Green Day. I seen Dr. Dre. I seen all those videos at that time when they were barely coming out, and I liked it. I liked it because it was like, who wouldn't like it? You know, it was catchy stuff, and it was cool. And I just thought it was cool, and yeah.
And I have a question for you on your expertise. How do you feel about the music nowadays?
Well, I feel there's a lot of potential and to make good music. I feel there's a lot of potential to make good music, and I feel there's a potential. I feel that there's a lot of good talent out there that hasn't been found yet.
Yeah.
That's waiting to be found, and it just takes that first meet. You know, it just takes to meet, and once you make that connection with somebody that's vibing with you on the same tip, and they know, like if they know what you know, if you know what's up, they're gonna know what's up, and they're gonna wanna collaborate and collide on something and make some sort of create something basically, and who knows how far you can go with the, you know.
Yeah.
For example, in my situation with what I'm trying to do with my music, who knows if I find the right talent to sing my songs? Who knows? You know, maybe next time you might see me on television. I don't know. You know?
Yeah. Well, that's the thing I notice nowadays.
Because it's like that.
I notice nowadays, like everybody just like wants to be like a rapper nowadays. Like I have them at my job and everything, and that's fine and all, but it's just, you know, they just got to keep on. They got to do it for the right reasons. So I feel, you know, too many people I feel do a lot of things for the money and the fame. Though, am I right?
Yes, you're right. And there is a lot of MCs and rappers and wordsmiths or whatever you want to call them. You know, just no disrespect to anybody because I do rap.
Yeah.
I like to rhyme. So I respect the art form. And to me, it's an art form. Just like how sampling, like going back to the sampling music, that's an art form in itself because you have to sample each little sample. You're looking for a tone, and you got to snip it. You got to, trim the edges to make it work. You got to fit everything together, chop it all up. You got to chop it all up, just like if it was you were in the kitchen. You got to chop it all up, cook it up, and to see how it sounds. See how it sounds.
That's true. And another question, like, how do you feel about Chicano rap?
Chicano rap and going back to the warehouse rapping and stuff like that. These type of art forms, they have to exist. It's like they're important. They're important to people like me.
Yes.
That want them to exist. So I encourage anybody who wants to make music and is thinking about making music and who's got skills to drop bars and all that stuff and kick knowledge and drop gems. I encourage them to do it. I encourage them 100% to do it.
Exactly.
And if they need my help, they can even reach out to me if they need help. If they need music, because a lot of these MCs, rappers, I'm talking about ones that, like how you're saying, the ones who are really passionate and are going to do it for a good reason. If they exist, then they're going to need beats, because a lot of these guys, they ain't going to have beats, or girls, they're not going to have, guys or girls, they're not going to have beats. They might have the skills to do some crazy wordplay, but they're not going to have the beats. And that's why someone like me who can make these beats, I got to be there for them.
Yes.
But if I don't speak up, they're not going to hear me. They're not going to know I make beats.
No. And that's going to be great, because I'm going to be able to advertise for you too.
No, that's what's great, brother. That's what's great, man. That's why I appreciate what you're doing, man. You're doing good. You're doing good, man.
Oh yeah.
And it's Father's Day, man, and that's why we clipped up, man, because that's also the important thing about why I wanted to talk on your podcast.
Yes.
About being a father. Being a father. What does it mean to me? It's all about teaching the child good things, so that child will grow up to be a good person.
Yes. And can I ask you, what's good things that you would teach a child or children, the younger generation? What's your word of advice?
My word of advice to parents, or I guess I could say it right, because the child might not know what I'm talking about depending what age he is,
Right.
but he might be knowing what I'm talking about if there is any children listening. My advice is to never keep a child in the dark as far as the truth. So, for example, going back to my situation with having my kids adopted, two of my kids are with their grandparents. Luckily, my in-laws, and then my other little girl and my baby little girl. So I have a 2-year-old and a 6 or 7 month old baby that both got separated. Those were my last two when they finally said they stepped up their game. They being social services, because basically this comes down to a situation that Child Protective Services is social services.
Right.
So this comes down to a situation of welfare, money. It boils down to a situation where whoever has the most money is going to have the last say. And that's what basically happened to me, because they took advantage of me. They said, well, this guy don't have much, but he's got good looking kids. Let's screw with him. Let's see what he can do.
Right.
And that's basically what they did, because they abused their power. They made up the fictitious lies, blew everything out of proportion, and all it caused was separation of family.
Yes.
That unity, that unit. The most important thing that a man should worry about if he has children is to keep the family unit together.
Yes. Let me ask you a question on that. How do you feel about, in today's society, right here in the West Coast, like how do you feel about like the family homes? Do you think they're more together now than they were before, or you think they're more broken apart now than they were before?
Well, I want to hope that they're more together than ever. Mm-hmm. Their families are more united than ever right now, especially with what happened with the COVID, the pandemic, and well, what's going on? You know,
right?
Just with the times that we live in right now, you don't know what's going on. So, my hope is that all families are more united together than ever right now, than ever. You know.
Yes.
And that's what it should be.
Yes, and for
you know.
I was just going to say, and for the ones that are not together, just don't forget that God is your father. You know, don't ever forget that. You could always move through life, because I grew up without a dad myself. I didn't grow up with my dad. But, you know, I'm on good terms with them, though. But I didn't grow up with a dad myself, so you could do it if I could do it.
Yes. That's and I hear you, man. I hear you. So, you know, and I can understand what you're saying, because my wife she's adopted too. So I understand, you know, because my wife, you know, I don't want to speak for her, but you know, we all go through things. I go through things, so I could relate. But you know, I give you props. I give you props for, you know, sticking it through and keeping your head up.
Thank you, sir. It's funny too, because you kind of sound like him. You kind of sound like my dad, Raul.
Oh, no way.
Yeah, a little bit. It's cool.
No. My father's name's Raul too.
Raul too. Oh, really? Wow.
Yeah. His name's Raul. Yeah. So I didn't name my boy Raul, but his middle name's Raul.
Nice. You say your parents are from Mexico. Can I ask you what part?
Yeah, so my parents are, my father's from Durango. Durango, if any of your listeners know where that is, but that's northern Mexico. And then my mom's from more further south, Mexico City.
Oh.
So that's from my mom is where I get a lot of the musical knowing too, of the knowledge of the bands from that time, from the 60s and the 70s, because my mom was she liked the Doors. She liked classic rock, like the Janis Joplin, a lot of the stuff from the 60s and 70s.
Wow.
So that's how I listened to a lot of stuff that she listened to, and that's how I found out about all the classic jams.
And I have another question too. You said all the family grew up in one big house. How big are the houses in Lake Elsinore where you grew up at in the 80s? They're pretty big, right?
This particular house, I'm not sure, because I was so young, but I'm not sure how big it was, but I could tell you that it wasn't that big. For us, it probably was like a 2-bedroom, I could say.
Oh,
maybe.
The land, but they have a lot of open land.
Sure,
I'm sorry.
In Lake Elsinore, there's a lot of Elsinore's booming right now. It's they're building a lot of things, just like everywhere else.
Yeah.
You know, that's what's changing in society, is we're getting more stuff being built.
Oh yeah.
So we're getting more of the same restaurants. So it's always going to be the Starbucks, you know, with the whatever's attached to it, and it's like that's what they want us to have, and that's what they want us to have. It's like we're seeing stuff being taken away from, like, oh, my favorite root beer, they don't sell it no more. They discontinued it.
Yeah.
We just don't know why these things are happening. It's just happening. It sucks.
And because everything's being franchised, right?
Yeah. So the companies are buying smaller companies, and they buy them out, and then they buy them out, but then they discontinue making the beverage, and they only choose to make the beverage out in the refreshment stands in restaurants now. So you can't buy it in bottled, but it might be in refreshment stands.
Right. And can I ask you another question? How was it growing up in Lake Elsinore? Was it nice? Was it a hood? Was it troubling? How was it?
Lake Elsinore is Lake Elsinore to me. Let me see. How can I sum it up? Growing up, it was the best.
Right.
Living in Lake Elsinore as a teenager was the best.
Nice.
Because, well, I lived in Lake Elsinore, but like I said, it's in the middle of SD and LA. So, as a teenager, I had older buddies. So we would travel. So we would get to places. So I would get to places as a teenager. I went to shows as a teenager. I went to Coachella. We snuck into Coachella Music Festival early in the 2000s, just one time, and you got to see Weezer perform, Daft Punk. I'm not sure who was there, but there was a lot of people there. So those type of things that happened in my life while growing up in Elsinore is what makes me who I am. It's that's what inspires me, because I'm like, oh, okay, like, yeah, like, dang, I've been through a lot. Like, I'm like, this is my life. It keeps. Yeah, it's like a loop, a musical loop. No pun intended, but it's like but it's a loop that I like. I like to be in. I like to be in that loop. I like to be in the zone of doing what I love to do.
Right. And how's the weather out there? It's a little bit more hotter out there, right? Because more inland.
Elsinore, you're gonna melt. You come out to Elsinore in the summertime, it's gonna be really, really hot. But that's the whole beauty of it, because it is you're in a little hole,
Yeah.
And can you curse on your show?
Yeah, sure. I could always bleep it out. No, but
yeah,
you could go ahead.
Yeah. It's like Lake Elsinore, and I'll say it too, because I'm a real Lake Elsinorean, man. It's like a little shithole that's just like, to me, and this is why I'm gonna go back to Lake Elsinore, man, because I feel like the sun is shining down on me when I'm in Lake Elsinore, dog. Like it's just going back to those feelings. Like it just feels right.
Yeah.
It feels like almost like being in the center of the center of the world, almost,
Yeah. You ever been to the outlets?
Yeah, it's trippy.
You ever been to the outlets?
Oh, yeah, the outlets? Yeah. Well, I don't live that far from there. Like, yeah, my house is like, my parents' house is like over there by Four Corners.
Okay.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, and they're building a lot of new houses out there, aren't they? New buildings out there, all that open land.
Yeah, well, they got a lot of apartments. They're making a lot of apartments everywhere, going through Highway 74 to Paris. We were mentioning Paris earlier.
Yeah.
Paris is another little city that could be reached from Lake Elsinore. So if you get off the 15 freeway and you get off Collier and you follow Collier, that will be Highway 74, which is another. So basically, to the listener listening to right now, Paris, Lake Elsinore, Highway 74, these are all going to be like, in my music, they're all going to be like little motifs that mean things to me, because these are places where I have been. So Paris is like, it's like my second house. It's like how Riverside is,
Yeah.
Just like how Murrieta is. It's like their backyards, because we're little cities connected to each other. Hemet, like San Jacinto. Like, these are all my, like, I cruise these towns, like, I know people in these towns. Like, I got family in these towns.
Yeah.
So, like, that's why I want to, like, represent for Lake Elsinore, because in love with Lake Elsinore. I grew up there, and I just want everybody to know that, we make good stuff in Lake Elsinore. We're not going to make crappy music.
That's
We're
right.
going to actually try. We're going to try.
Hey, I bet you there's a lot of good parties out there, though, growing up in the 80s and 90s, right?
In the 90s, back, I have an uncle who, they're religious now, but he was a musician in the 80s, And going back to the house where we lived on Lookout Street and Main Street in Lake Elsinore, I remember they performed there one time, and they played they played songs of that time, you know. I don't know what songs it was. It might have been songs by Los Monkeys or just whatever who was popular at that time, or maybe they might have been original music by, I don't know, but I know that they played. So those type of functions were going on in the 80s where you had those type of that type of music. And then in the 90s I got to go to some of the parties that you're talking about. I think that you're talking about like ditch parties and raves and flyer parties and stuff like that. I did manage to witness a little bit of that stuff. You know, in high school, I did manage to squeeze in there a little bit and seize the moment and remember those precious moments.
Were they great?
Oh yeah, they were great, man. They're great. That's the thing, you know. I don't know, like, if there'll ever be times like that again. But you know, that's the thing.
Were there any like clubs out there?
Gotta hope. Was there any clubs out here? There was clubs in the 90s. I know there was a Club Metro, but I was way too young for that. That was in the early 90s, mid 90s. There was a Club Metro, and I don't know where it was at. I don't know what type of music they were playing, but I'm sure it was whatever was popping. Club music at the time, you know, a lot of break beats and electro music, like dance music, you know.
Yeah, man. Well, man, I want to thank you
mixed in with what the hip hop. Yeah.
I said, yeah,
Go
man.
ahead.
I want to thank you for your time, man. I think you're a terrific guest, and I would love to have you on the show again, man.
Oh, you're welcome, man. Anytime.
Yeah. Because you're a great guest, and I would love to hear from you again, especially just sharing just more information about music. I want to do my research to ask you more detailed questions, and maybe you could give an outline, like in the next session or so. But I would love to have you again, and I appreciate your time for being on the show with me.
Oh, no problem. You know, thank you very much for giving me an opportunity to talk about the importance of being a father. If you're a father out there, to, you know, raise your kids and teach them music. I know you're not a lot of listeners might not be musicians if they have children, but teach them art, teach them dance, teach them whatever they want to be taught, teach them whatever they want to learn. You know, whatever they want to do, encourage your children. This is a good day to talk about this stuff. I appreciate it too that you give me this opportunity. I want to give people my contact information.
Sure.
So they can hit me up if they want. If any rapper, any MC, any boy or girl wanting to sing, that wants to sing lyrically too. It doesn't have to be rapping form, but they want to sing. Just hit me up. I'm going to give you my email. It's going to be Rolly. That's going to be R, the letter R, O, L, Y, V as in Victor, I, L, L, E, G, A, S, 84 at gmail.com. So that's Rolly Villegas 84 at gmail.com.
I hope all the listeners heard that.
And,
that's his email. Go ahead, sir.
Yeah. I hope, so if there's anybody out there who's aspiring to be a musician and is looking for help, maybe they never recorded before and they're looking to start to record, I got the music for you to do your lyrics and for you to do your thing. And yeah, that's about it. I got a couple things coming up in the future, with some cassette tapes releases, with some instrumental music that I'm working with a young artist. She paints, and she's going to be designing the album cover for it. It's going to be called My Sweet 16. There's going to be 16 instrumental beats, and it's going to be on cassette tape. and most likely colored cassette tapes, and there'll be a limited edition.
Yes, yes. Please check back in with us and to update us on your latest music ventures. I will play that instrumental you sent me too.
Thanks. I appreciate it.
Yes, sir. Have a great day.
Yes, sir. Hey, thank you very much, man. God bless you, man, and God bless all your listeners too, and God bless the child.
Thank you. Happy Father's Day out there.
Happy Father's Day, man. Peace out.
Peace out.
Thank you, man.
Mm-hmm.
Thank you. Peace out.